Stop scrolling. Something just snapped in Silicon Valley. Intel just froze an 18B chip expansion, and San Jose is acting like the floor dropped out. Because if that money stays frozen, the damage does not stay inside Intel. It spreads fast, and the mayor knows it. Here is what people are missing. A freeze is not a delay. A freeze is a warning flare. It means uncertainty is now in control. And once that happens, cities that bet everything on one giant project start to panic. Think about the number for a second. 18B is not a headline. It is an ecosystem. It is contractors, suppliers, new buildings, new hires. It is side businesses that quietly scale up, assuming the wave is real. And when the wave suddenly stops, those businesses do not gently return to normal. They choke. Now imagine being the mayor of a major tech city when this hits. Your entire pitch is stability. Your entire job is confidence. And then a company like Intel signals in public that it is pulling back. Pause here, because the story is not just Intel froze spending. The story is why that freeze lands like an emergency. Intel has been fighting pressure on multiple fronts: competition, costs, manufacturing timelines, and the market has been watching Intel try to rebuild its edge in chips while also spending massive amounts to do it. That is a high wire act, and a freeze is what happens when the wire starts to shake. But here is where it gets worse. When a company freezes an expansion this big, it forces a brutal question on everyone watching. Is this a temporary pause? Or is this the beginning of a longer retreat? Read that again. Because cities do not prepare for retreat. They prepare for growth. They zone for it. They build roads around it. They justify budgets around it. They make promises around it. And if those promises are tied to a project that just got iced, the political temperature spikes instantly. Now let's talk about the part that makes San Jose vulnerable. San Jose sits in the blast radius of tech cycles. When tech expands, San Jose feels rich. When tech pulls back, San Jose feels the stress first. And this is where the pressure compounds. An 18B expansion is not just Intel's internal plan, it becomes a story that lenders, developers, and local businesses start using as a baseline assumption. A restaurant signs a lease thinking lunch crowds are coming. A contractor buys equipment thinking work is locked in. A staffing firm hires recruiters thinking the pipeline is real. A landlord raises rents because demand is about to surge. Then the freeze hits. And now those assumptions turn into liabilities. Now consider the implications. If Intel freezes once, every other big player starts watching their own risk. And when big players get cautious, the entire region feels the squeeze. This is why the mayor panics. Because mayors do not control global chip demand. They do not control capital markets. They do not control Intel's internal math. But they do get blamed when the local economy suddenly feels unstable. And the local economy does not need a full collapse to feel like one, it only needs a confidence shock. And that is what this is. Let that sink in. Confidence is a currency. And right now, Intel just devalued it. Now, to be fair, companies freeze projects for lots of reasons. They might be waiting on incentives, they might be reworking timelines, they might be responding to demand forecasts. They might be looking at interest rates, labor costs, supply chain issues, or political risk. But the public does not hear reworking timelines. The public hears something is wrong. And here is the part nobody expects. The freeze itself becomes a signal to other investors. If Intel, with all its size and resources, is hesitating, what does that imply about everyone else? This is where things start getting scary. Because the chip industry is supposed to be the backbone of the next decade. AI, data centers, defense, cars, phones. If the backbone starts showing cracks, the whole body feels weak. And now zoom back into San Jose. A city like this has fixed costs that do not freeze. Public services do not freeze. Infrastructure maintenance does not freeze. Housing pressure does not freeze. But revenue growth can freeze overnight. Think about that. Costs stay hot. Money goes cold. That is how budget crises are born. Now picture the mayor's position. You have to stand in front of cameras and project calm, but behind the scenes, you are doing damage control, calling contacts, asking what's real, asking what's coming. Because if this expansion doesn't restart, the next headline is not about Intel. It is about layoffs, empty commercial space, and a regional slowdown. And then something else breaks. Because once people believe a slowdown is coming, they act like it is already here. Consumers cut back, businesses delay hiring, investors tighten, developers pause projects, and that behavior makes the slowdown real. That's the spiral. It feeds itself. Now you might be thinking, it's just one company. No, not when the number is 18B, not when the industry is chips, not when the message is hesitation. This detail matters. Semiconductors are not like apps. They require massive capital, long timelines, complex supply chains, highly specialized labor. So when a chip giant freezes spending, it is not a quick switch back on. Restarting takes alignment, permits, contracts, financing, confidence. And if any one of those stays shaky, the project stays frozen longer than anyone wants to admit. Now, here is the uncomfortable reality. San Jose and the broader Silicon Valley region have been living in an era where the next boom is always assumed. Another wave, another surge, another round of hiring. But cycles are changing. Tech companies are leaner. Capital is more cautious. And the political environment around big corporate expansions is more volatile. So when Intel freezes 18B, it lands in a world that already feels fragile. It is not happening in a calm economy. It is happening in a high stress economy. And that changes the meaning of everything. Now, the situation becomes more dangerous because local leaders might respond the wrong way. They might overpromise incentives, they might rush policy, they might make budget bets to bridge the gap. And if the freeze lasts longer, those bets turn into losses. Pause here. This is how cities get trapped. They chase the return of a project so hard that they expose themselves even more. And the people who pay for that are not executives. It is residents, renters who see instability in jobs, small business owners who lose foot traffic, workers who planned their lives around a hiring wave that never comes. And that is why the mayor panics. Because behind the press statements and careful wording, the fear is simple. If Intel's 18B turns from freeze into quiet cancellation, the region takes a psychological hit that is hard to reverse. Now ask yourself this: what happens if more than one company starts doing this? Because Intel freezing 18B is not just an Intel story. It is a test of whether the next phase of tech expansion is real or whether we are entering an era of pullbacks disguised as pauses. Read that again: pullbacks disguised as pauses. So watch what happens next. Not the statements, not the spin. Watch the actions. Do projects restart quickly with real contracts and real hiring, or do timelines slip? Do budgets get re-evaluated? Do executives stop using dates and start using vague language? Because vague language is where bad news hides. And if you live anywhere near a major tech economy, this should concern you. When 18B freezes, it is not just money, it is momentum. And when momentum dies, the fallout spreads wider than anyone expects. This is where things turn. If the freeze breaks soon, San Jose survives the scare. If it doesn't, the city is about to find out what happens when a growth story hits a wall. And the most unsettling part is this: you usually do not feel the collapse on the day the decision is made. You feel it weeks later, when the calls stop, when the listings sit, when the hiring posts vanish, when the coming soon signs quietly get taken down. So keep your eyes open, because this freeze is not the end of the story. It is the moment the story changes, and a lot of people are still pretending it didn't.